Okay, it can be very frustrating when you put in a claim for a condition that you feel very strongly that was caused by your military service and you have a current diagnosis and the VA sends you a letter saying they denied your claim that you didn't win. But don't worry, this is something that happens very commonly because the VA has a certain criteria that they require each veteran to meet in order for your claim to be approved. A lot of veterans, I think, myself included, when we first start out doing this, in our mind, we can see why our condition should be connected to service, but we just don't do a good job of articulating it or providing enough evidence. We hear that the VA's job is to assist us in winning these claims, but in all reality, we just need to make sure that we have a good checklist to provide the information that the VA needs to connect conditions. I don't want to get anyone worked up on this. If this has happened to you and you got your denial, let's go through some of the things that you need to win to make sure that you have in your claim so that you can win it next time. But before I get started in that, please subscribe to this channel, hit the like button, and throw any comments down below that you might have. All right, so first things first, every claim needs to have 3 elements. And in this case, you already have a current diagnosis. So consider that a good portion of your claim checklist done. You got the current diagnosis. The decision letter says that you have a current diagnosis. That's something to smile about. The next thing that we need to do is we need to prove that the condition that we're dealing with was caused, or at least as likely as not, caused by something that happened in the military. It could be anything. It could be the different types of activities that you were involved in while you were in the military that caused some sort of, back condition or neck condition or knee condition. It could be an injury that you can point your condition to. It could be an exposure. It's got to be something that we can articulate that our time in service likely caused this. We need an anchor, so to speak, something that we can, direct the evidence towards, and that's essentially our nexus, right? Like the nexus between the condition that we're dealing with and something that happened while we were in the military. That's what service connection is, and that's really all we need if we have that current diagnosis. And I know I'm saying it like it's easy. It's not always easy. Just like winning a lot of these claims will not always be easy. But, armed with the right information on what you need to have, and then figuring out how to get that evidence will get you to, winning your VA disability claim. So if you're currently denied, don't quit. Just take another look at it and figure out, should you have won this? And what do you need to do to win that? And we're going to go right into that. So you've got your denial. You need to look at that decision letter and you need to read it. You need to figure out why they denied it. What does it say? You got to read exactly why they denied it. And if you already have a current diagnosis, it will probably say in there that the VA recognizes that the veteran has a current diagnosis of whatever it is, X, Y, and Z. But then it'll probably say that, you just don't have enough evidence to prove that this condition was caused by your active duty service. And there might actually be other clues in there that will be helpful for you. Something in there that might point you in the right direction to get that. Another thing that you might want to look at, and I strongly suggest it, especially if you feel like you submitted all your evidence, is take a look at it to see if the VA considered all of your evidence. This recently happened to a friend of mine. He submitted a letter from his doctor articulating why the doctor believed that the condition was caused by another condition, and they didn't review that evidence. They didn't put it down in the list of things that were considered with the evidence. He submitted a higher level review and won that because it wasn't reviewed. They somehow made a mistake and it wasn't reviewed. It's frustrating, but it happens. So take a look at that and make sure that they did consider all of your evidence. Now, if that's not the case, think about what you might be missing as evidence to prove your service connection. Or look at your evidence and figure out, was it adequate? Was it enough to prove it? Was it credible? Did it paint a full picture for the VA? Take a look at everything that you have there and ask yourself, if you were the VA rater, would you grant service connection for this, or is there something missing that you would need to convince you as a VA rater? And if there is, figure out what you need to do to get that evidence. Maybe it was just a personal statement that didn't paint the picture full enough, or maybe you just didn't articulate something well enough, or maybe you needed to get better medical evidence. Maybe you needed a nexus letter. Maybe you needed to highlight some. Maybe you did go to the doctor while you were in the military, and you complained of back pain, and you're going for a back pain or some sort of condition related to your back. Maybe highlighting that in your personal statement to make sure that it is addressed or understood. There's a lot of different things, but we know our bodies the best and we know our claims the best, but sometimes what we don't know is how it looks to somebody else who's standing outside. And we need to make sure that when we send in a claim, that everything is captured there, that everything is addressed, so that there's a clear picture, so that when the rater looks at it, or even when you're in the C&P exam, you want to be able to articulate this to them. You want to be able to make sure that you know what your anchor is. You want to make sure that, just like I put in the bottom there, that you can bridge the gaps and put all your evidence so that it paints this nice, pretty picture. Now, if you were denied and you've got your current diagnosis, you've got three options, essentially. You can do a supplemental, a higher level review, or you can go to the Board of Appeals. Now, I don't have any experience with Board of Appeals, but I do have experience with supplementals and higher level reviews. I've done both of them several times, and I've had good luck and I've had bad luck. Based on my experiences, I know that a supplemental is what I'm going to use as a vet who had something denied. If I find out that I didn't really have all of my evidence included in there, or there was still some more evidence that I could include later, maybe going to a doctor or getting a nexus letter or something to that effect. So if you realize that your claim was not as good as it could have been, and you need to add relevant evidence, then I would go the supplemental route. I would go collect whatever evidence I needed to do. I would add a new personal statement if that was necessary, and I would submit that as a supplemental. And I would highly encourage you to make contact with a VSO to see if a VSO could be your second set of eyes to help you with that. I know sometimes it can be hard to find a good VSO, but if you can find a good one that would be your second set of eyes, I think it would be helpful for you. The next one is a higher level review. And a higher level review essentially would be when you think that maybe they made a mistake. The VA made a mistake. They didn't review everything or all of your evidence, and you think that your claim is perfect, so you submit a higher level review. Again, using a VSO to be your second set of eyes, someone to help you brainstorm whether or not that's the right avenue, I think would be helpful for you. But those are the two. There's three options, but those are the two that I'm going to talk about, or that I feel comfortable talking about for your options. So just to wrap all of this up, if you got your claim denied and you have a current diagnosis, you've got almost everything that you need to win, except for something anchoring it to your active duty service. And, every claim is going to be different, but every one of them is going to need that anchor. So we just need to figure out what your anchor is and what connects it to your active duty service. So asking that question to yourself and then determining what type of evidence you need to provide to prove that service connection, and then decide how you're going to pursue winning that claim, either a supplemental, higher level review, or, if you're going to go all the way to the top, Board of Appeals.